It's Andrea.
No, action.
Hey, it's Andrea. And Desi Shippers.
And Braden Almond.
And Sydney Stevens.
And Brielle McKee.
And Rachel Brown.
And Audrey Puckett.
Hey, is everybody ready?
Ready?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but on the weekends, I rarely leave the comfort of my pajamas. And when I do, I rarely look presentable. So when I do have to go to the store and I awkwardly see my teacher walking down the hallway, thoughts like, how can I avoid my teacher evade my brain? So, however, these kind of thoughts burden people on a day-to-day basis. According to the Social Anxiety Association, social anxiety disorder is the third largest mental disability in the world today. Whether it's an awkward situation or something as major as social anxiety, many just hope to get through the day without anybody looking at them. So, oftentimes students catch themselves in situations where they don't want the spotlight on them. And they can avoid these circumstances by avoiding contact, remaining silent and secluded, and finally, not drawing attention to themselves. Today, I'll demonstrate those things. So, how does one simply go unnoticed? In order to escape undesired situations, one must avert all forms of contact. First, that starts with eye contact. According to Hello Beautiful, eyes are one of the best attributes on the human. So suppose Barbie here is in class and she's afraid that the teacher is going to call on her. She simply looks down the whole class period and then the teacher doesn't notice her. Avoid eye contact. But, however, eye contact rarely draws as much attention as physical contact. According to Psychology Today, when you know your surroundings, you can better take notice of the things that are out of the ordinary. So, when avoiding physical contact, Barbie and her friend here, when Barbie is walking down the hallway and gasp, notices the most popular girl in school coming at her, she also notices that her arms are swinging very crazily and loosely, and simply draws her arms in and avoids running into the other Barbie. But if Barbie had forgotten to draw her arm in, watch what would have happened. Bam! She completely ruined her chances at being the most popular girl in school's friend, and did exactly what she didn't want to do by drawing attention to herself. Continuing on, you also must dodge being boisterous. Next, you can't avoid attention unless you keep silent and secluded. To do this, you must first start with practice. Okay, audience, I want you all to ask Barbie here a question. Any of you can ask one question. Just go ahead.
Barbie, do you have a boyfriend?
Okay, that's enough for questions. Go ahead, Barbie. You see, Barbie's a professional. You just have to simply not answer questions that anybody asks you. So seclusion also kind of begins with this kind of practice, in a way. In order to avoid awkward situations, you can simply just be alone. And all of those circumstances start with lying. So suppose this Barbie wants to avoid her weird cousin's wedding. So she simply picks up the phone and says, "Hey Jenica, sorry, I've caught the flu today, so I can't make the wedding." But if this wanting to go unnoticed just becomes a constant, then you may have to go to bigger circumstances. First, you must break away from all of your friends and stop talking to them. And then, you must break away from society. See, Barbie is now in disguise. And then you could also go to the measures of living in nature. And then you could avoid people at all costs. A perfect example of these kind of people is Howie from Benchwarmers. He just lives in a closet and eats sunscreen. So Howie's a primary example of this, and he fends off all social situations. Just like him, you don't want to draw attention to yourself. So first you must start by wearing plain clothing. Be aware of your circumstances in this, like say in Kansas, a lot of people wear flared jeans and t-shirts like this Barbie, so that's what you'd want to wear. But suppose Barbie was in New York here, and comes in contact with all the people being very fashionable at New York. Oh, I'm sorry. And so they would just say things like, "Oh my gosh, is that a street performer? Why is she wearing clothes like that? Ew, gross." And she would draw attention to herself. So next you must look into your hair and makeup. You want to keep a very casual look. Like, you don't want to draw attention to your eyes because they are a very great attribute on a person. So you wouldn't want to wear eyeliner or mascara. Just simply cover up the blemishes so people don't look at your blemishes. Next you must look at hair. And you want to go for a very natural look. Don't dye it, don't curl it, because then it would draw attention to you, and people would say things like, "Wow, you look great today," and then the Barbie would cry because she didn't want to look great. She didn't want people to notice her. So after coordinating the perfect dullness, you must look into your mannerisms. Make sure everything you do is subtle, but not too subtle. So start by analyzing everything you do naturally. Okay, now notice this Barbie here. Walking very confidently through the hallways. And all of her friends here are like, "Wow, she is so confident." But now, Barbie's having a really bad day and walks very sluggishly and slowly, and all of her friends are like, "Wow, what's wrong with Barbie today? She is a mess." But once Barbie walks very casually, subtle, but not too subtle, nobody notices her. So people notice everything you do, from the way you chew your food to the way you scrunch your nose when you're angry. So just don't ever do anything out of the ordinary. But as you know now, staying subtle is just one of the many precautions. By avoiding contact, staying silent and secluded, and finally, not drawing attention to yourself, people can avoid situations when they don't want to be the center of attention. The steps and examples I've laid out to you will help you avoid awkward situations. And although you can dodge these situations very easily, it's always good to step outside of the box and do things that you wouldn't normally do. Just be yourself, and you won't ever be embarrassed like Barbie. Thank you.